Hello, this is Dwight Kelly, a history researcher affiliated with the African American High Schools in Louisiana before 1970 History Research Project. Today we have an informative interview with Mr. Arthur Welch, a native of Natchitoches, Louisiana, who shares his educational experiences growing up in Natchitoches, attending elementary school and high school in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Mr. Welch shares his early education and training in segregated schools in North Louisiana and how his early education prepared him for success as a mechanical engineer later in life. Enjoy this introspective look into the impact that teachers, principals, parents, and community leaders had on the youth growing up in Natchitoches and the surrounding communities during the 1940s and 1950s. Enjoy this interview.
Hello, Mr. Welch. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. This is Russell Hill interviewing Mr. Arthur Welch on today's date, 10/22/2021. Mr. Welch.
Yes.
I understand that you're from the Natchitoches area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is that the place of your birth?
That is true.
Okay. Now, Mr. Welch, where did you do your primary education?
At Natchitoches Parish Training School in Natchitoches,
Okay. When did you enter Natchitoches Parish Training School?
1938.
1938. Okay. And you were in what grade then?
First grade.
First grade. Okay. And so that means that when did you enter high school there?
Well, high school started at 8th grade when I went to school.
Yeah.
So it was 8 years later.
1946.
That's about right.
About 1946. Now, where the student body for Natchitoches Parish Training School came from what communities?
Several of the outlying communities had grammar school, as it was called then.
Mm-hmm.
Shady Grove area.
Okay.
Campty. There were a lot of other little Natchez was one.
Okay.
But students from Natchez also went to St. Mary,
Okay.
which no longer exists.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And were these communities mostly church schools, or just what was their affiliation for the communities?
Well, at that time, they were schools that had been built in the communities. No longer were the churches the primary source for education for black kids.
Okay. Okay. Now, so these were established schools that you're talking about.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
Can your memory go back to this early education in the Natchitoches area to talk about those church schools?
There were Asbury Methodist Church was the first church that provided education for black kids. That church still exists today.
Okay.
And some other churches, I think First Baptist also had some education, but I got very little information on what was provided there. Most of it was from Asbury.
Okay. And Asbury started approximately when, as far as in education?
It had to be at least maybe 10, 12, 15 years earlier.
So we're talking about around 1910.
It was 1912 when Professor Thomas came to Natchitoches
Okay.
and established the first school, which was named Lincoln Institute.
Oh, okay.
So the Asbury schools were in it earlier than 1912.
Okay. Okay. Lincoln Institute. Now, you mentioned Lincoln Institute. Now, Lincoln Institute encompassed what grades?
If I could remember correctly, ninth grade was the completion of school. You could start teaching after ninth grade.
Okay.
So,
Wait, are you sure? Are you sure it was ninth or was it 10th grade, or did they go to 10th? Because 10th was high school before around 1918, something like that.
well, what I remember is ninth grade you completed high school, and it was not until I was in school that they moved it up to 11th grade, completing high school. And my class, the class of 1950, was the first class that did the full 12 years.
Oh, okay. Full 12 years. Okay, but Lincoln Institute was a high school. Am I correct?
It was the school with everything from first grade through ninth.
First through ninth. Okay, Lincoln Institute. And
Which was the same thing with my school, Natchitoches Parish Training School. It was first grade through 11 and then eventually 12.
Okay.
And in 1952, it was broken up to have Central High School, and I think the grammar school was named after Professor Thomas, J.W. Thomas Elementary School.
Okay. Now, was Lincoln Institute a different question. Was Natchitoches Parish Training School in the same physical facility as the Lincoln Institute?
It encompassed a brand new building, but all of the Lincoln Institute facilities were also incorporated into Natchitoches Parish Training School.
Okay, so the same site.
On the same site and in some of the same buildings.
Same site and some of the same buildings. Okay. Now, were you a Rosenwald school?
No, well, I don't know.
Okay.
I said that too quick. I think we were, because I remember Ed Ward mentioned something about Rosenwald School. In fact, in the history of this, which you find on the internet, I believe it does mention Rosenwald.
Right, because I think that it was a Rosenwald school as well. Now, so you went from Natchitoches Parish Training School, started, and then to
Central High.
To Lincoln Institute, right?
Lincoln Institute was the first.
Lincoln Institute was the first.
Natchitoches Parish Training School was the second.
Natchitoches Parish Training School was the second, and then
Central High was the third.
High.
That's where the LNC comes from.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, and you were in the first graduating class from Central High School.
No.
No, Natchitoches Parish Training School. Were you in the last of Natchitoches Parish Training School?
No, 51 was the last.
Okay, 1951 was the last. Okay, good. Okay. Now, who was your principal at Natchitoches Parish Training School?
F.M. Richardson.
F.M. Richardson.
F as in Fred.
Yeah, F.M. Richardson. Okay. Now, what was Mr. Richardson's personality traits? What were his traits?
He was a strong disciplinarian.
Okay, strong disciplinarian. Okay, and how did he go about enforcing his discipline? I mean, was it his persona, or just how did he do that? How did you perceive that he did it?
In two manners. He would do a lot of talking to you, but he would also give you a paddling if you were out of line too far.
Oh, okay. At your time at Natchitoches Parish Training School, who were some of your teachers who you could recall?
Well, the ones that I can recall, my first grade teacher, her name was Ada George Gauss, and she married a Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And second grade teacher was Miss Collins.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Third grade teacher was Miss Green.
Oh, Miss Green. Okay.
Fourth grade teacher, I can't remember the name,
Okay.
nor the fifth, but the sixth grade teacher was Miss Adams. And the seventh grade teacher was Miss Battalion. Miss Battalion was a daughter of Professor J.W. Thomas.
Oh, okay. Okay. And so now, if you would take these people, can you take these people singularly or as a group to say what their teaching styles were? I mean, are you able to do that singularly? Let's say Miss Ada George.
Well, first grade, I don't recall a lot of teaching as far as academics. There was a lot of teaching about hygiene, manners, very little, as I recall, about reading, writing, and arithmetic. I think that started in second grade.
Okay, and Miss Collins, with Miss Collins.
Yeah.
And what about Miss Collins? What can you say about her?
She was an elderly lady. I would guess she must have been in her 50s, because as a kid, everybody was older.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And her teaching style. Can you remember anything? Recall anything about it? Or?
No, I can't. But I do know that when I came out of second grade, I was able to read and do my arithmetic.
Oh, okay, good. And
a little bit of spelling, so it picked up pretty heavy in second grade.
Okay. And with Miss Green in third grade?
Miss Green was in third grade.
Okay. Let's move on to your intermediate school, Miss Adams and Miss Battalion. How was that? How did you perceive those?
Oh, they were good teachers, because at that time we began to learn an awful lot. Good teachers.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Now, and in high school, at this time, this is usually the coming of adulthood for a lot of people. What were your activities in high school?
Well, we had basketball, football. I played football, played in the high school band, and I also played in a jazz orchestra.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of interesting. For one event, homecoming, we marched from Jackson Square to East Natchitoches to where the football field was. The band marched and played all the way. And when we got to the football field, myself and another gentleman by the name of Philip Lewis, we were pulled out of the band, put on our football uniforms, come back and play football until about 5 or 6 minutes before half. The coach would pull us out. We'd go back into the dressing room, get out of the football uniform, put on the band uniform, and march for halftime. And immediately get back into the dressing room, get out of the band uniform, put the football uniform on, and go back and play the second half. We didn't have offense and defense teams then. We just played football.
Right.
And that night at the homecoming dance, the jazz band, which I was part of, we played for the dance.
Okay. Now, what was your instrument?
Trumpet.
You were a trumpet player. Okay. Okay, you played trumpet, so yeah, and then so basically think about that. What position did you play in the football team?
Right guard.
Right guard. Oh, you were busy the whole time. Right guard, was it offense and defense?
Yes, we didn't have offense and defense. We just had a team.
Okay.
We played everything.
Right, now that's really amazing. You were in football. I mean, you just did the whole day.
Yep, we were busy.
Yeah, you were busy. Okay. And do you know who you played for homecoming in your senior year?
No, I do not.
You don't recall. Well, do you recall some of the teams who were in your division, in your
Yes,
district?
and some of them were pretty hard on young kids like myself. This was immediately after the Second War had ended, and a lot of the young men that went into the military from high school came back to high school to finish up.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, they were hardened soldiers and pretty rough men that we played football against.
Yeah.
Shreveport, I know we played a team there. We played a team in Ruston. We played Alexandria. We even played down in South Louisiana somewhere. I can't remember who it was. But
Okay.
it was pretty rough on we little young soft ones because
Right.
we played against hard soldiers.
Yeah. So in Shreveport, it had to be Central colored. In
I don't.
okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of
Okay.
it, but I just know we played in Shreveport. It's been so long, I forgot some of these things.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand. And in Ruston, it was Lincoln High was in Ruston.
Yes, I remember that one.
And,
Lincoln.
and in Alexandria, it had to be Peabody.
More than likely, it was Peabody and the War Horses.
Yeah, the War Horses. Yes. Well, so okay. So, what kind of record do you recall you all having?
I don't think we won a lot of games.
Okay.
We won a few.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Good.
We weren't state champions or anything like that. Although, prior to the Second World War, the school, as I recall, did have a state champions team. And
Okay.
Central High also had a basketball team that was state champs.
Right, and that was that. I know they had one toward the end of the '60s, around '60.
Yeah.
In the '60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not here, but I've been told that they did have
Yeah.
a hotshot team.
Yeah. We have records. We have newspaper clippings from that. Now, how was the basketball team when you were in school?
We had a good basketball team because we didn't have a gym or anything like that. They played outside on the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
It was not until Central High was built that there was a gymnasium.
Okay. Now, as far as you have basketball, football, did Natchitoches Parish Training School have a baseball team?
No,
No baseball. And what about track?
no.
Didn't have track, but you had the big two, basketball and football. Okay. Now, let's talk about your preparation for college when you were in school. Other than band and being an athlete, what were your activities that you participate in during school?
Well, there's two classes that set me on a path that's my whole career. I look back, and that was the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I had a woodworking class and a mechanical drafting class.
Okay.
And I went on to become an engineer, and I know that the mechanical drafting was a good foundation for that.
Mm-hmm.
I also held a journeyman machinist classification in California, and the conversion from woodwork to metalwork was fairly straightforward. So I credit that as a foundation.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Good. And as for what about your math courses that you took, or?
Well, my math courses was algebra and geometry.
Okay.
I had to learn a lot of trigonometry when I got in college.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at it retrospectively, what do you think about your experience, just socially and academically, at Natchitoches Parish Training School?
I think it was excellent. The only problem that we had as young kids, all of the girls were interested in the older boys that had come back from military, and couldn't get girlfriends. That was something that I remember.
Yeah, the competition.
Yeah.
But you look at it, you were a trumpet player and you were a football player.
Yeah. So it wasn't too difficult.
Yeah.
But I remember, particularly my class, the girls were all basically interested in the older boys.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they wanted men, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just about everyone that I can recall wind up marrying these guys too, and had a full life with them.
Oh, okay. Good. Now, what if you think in terms of one interesting thing that you said was you played in a jazz orchestra and you played in the band before in the parade. You were in the parade before the game. Then you had the homecoming game. Then you marched during halftime, and then you went back to play football in the game. And then afterwards, you were in the jazz orchestra.
Yep.
Tell me about this jazz orchestra.
Jazz orchestra, even today, people remember it. We were, in fact, all of the money that I made during high school came from that jazz band. We played for dances on Saturdays at clubs, places that they wouldn't let kids go into today, but we played it. It was either white, black, didn't make any difference. We played, and that's how I earned my money during high school.
Oh, okay. And you appear to have been very accomplished, by what you were doing. Who were the members of this jazz orchestra? I mean, were they high school or just who were they?
Everyone was high school except, I think, all of them were high school. Our drummer had been in high school, but I guess he must have finished or something, because I recall that he was not a student, but he had been a student.
Okay. And who was your jazz band director?
Cal C. Vaughn.
Okay. And who was your high school band director?
Cal C. Vaughn.
Oh, okay. Tell me about Mr. Barnes.
And I think the man was a genius. He taught just about everything: glee clubs, mathematics, of course, music. He really an outstanding individual as far as his knowledge base.
Okay. Do you know where he went to school or where he?
No, I don't. But he was a part of the Vaughn family here, which all of them were teachers.
Okay.
Their oldest sister, which I know about, Dr. Jackson, she wound up in Natchitoches, and as a result of that, two brothers came with her. She went on to teach at Grambling, and Palm Vaughn and L.C. Vaughn were teachers here during the time I was in school. And another brother was a barber out in Oakland, California. He came back to Natchitoches, finished school, and he started teaching here. His name was L.P. Vaughn.
Okay.
There's a school named after him here, L.P. Vaughn Elementary School.
Now, do you recall your graduation? That was a very important time. Do you recall that period of time, going back to high school?
Yes.
Okay. Did you all have a class night?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about your class night. How was that?
Well, we were dressed in black and white, and I have some pictures of our, I guess you'd call it the prom night. It wasn't anything nearly like the kids have today. All the girls were dressed in white, and all the boys were dressed in black and white.
Okay.
We had a LNC reunion some years ago where we tried to replicate that particular night where all of the men were in their black and whites and the girls were in their women were in their whites, trying to reproduce it. We didn't come close to it, but as I recall, it was an enjoyable night. Nobody got in trouble, nothing like today.
And you had a prom. You
Yeah.
said. Okay. Now, since it was so hard getting girls, how did you get your prom date?
Well, you had to go down a couple classes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, that's fair. Now, so as far as class night, what was the highlight of your class night? I know that the dressing was all good, but now what was the highlight of class night?
I can't remember.
Okay, that's
It
fair.
must not been too exciting because I can't remember anything that happened.
Okay. Usually you leave something to the class below you. Do you recall any of that? Okay.
The only thing I can recall that we left was a flagpole.
Okay. Now,
The school did not have a flagpole.
okay, so you left the flagpole. And the flagpole probably still stands, doesn't it?
I don't remember seeing the flagpole.
Oh, okay.
We left the money for it, but I don't remember seeing it because that was 2 years later. It became Central High, so I don't know what happened to it if it was ever put up.
Okay. Now, you all probably had a baccalaureate as well.
Yeah, we had those.
Okay. And do you recall anything from your baccalaureate?
Yeah, a lot of long-winded speakers.
Okay. Okay. So, and then graduation. Now, tell me, how was graduation done? Were you all in cap and gown?
Yeah, we were in cap and gown.
Okay.
And our diplomas were handed out that night. And the homeroom teacher, when I got my diploma, I just got the case. I didn't get the diploma. The diploma was not issued to me until I gave her my $20 for the flagpole.
Well, that's good. That's interesting. Now, did your high school band play for you to march in, or did you march in by piano?
By piano.
By piano. Oh, okay. Okay. And what was the most memorable part? Other than you getting your diploma a little later, other than that, what was the most memorable thing about graduation?
Well, I was one of the last ones to get in line because we had been up on the corner doing things that we should not have been done, and I had to hurry up and get down to the school and get in the gown. Several of the boys didn't make it in time to get in the gown.
Oh, okay. So that was very memorable. You had a good time then.
That's strange how some of these weird things stick in my memory, and the good ones, I can't remember those.
Oh, okay. And really after that, okay, let's talk about one other thing. Where did you go to college?
Well, it went like this.
Okay.
I left Natchitoches and went to Houston to stay with my mother's sister, and there was a new school that had just opened up the year before, and I was going to go to that school. It's now known as Texas Southern.
Okay.
But at that time, if you wanted to go to Grambling, you go over, you pay your tuition, and you sign up. Well, I thought that was the same way at Texas Southern. They asked me, had I filled out an application, had I all of these things? No, I hadn't done that. So I had to sit out until spring session.
Mm-hmm.
By that time, I'm having too good a time. And when the next season come around, I had to go to the military. I got drafted.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I got out of school, out of military, that I started working at a defense company in Los Angeles. It was North American Aviation at the time.
Okay.
And as I got promoted a few times there, and I started school at night, my GI Bill paid some of it, and the company paid a portion of my tuition, and that's how I was able to go to UCLA.
Okay, so you had an unorthodox way or path
Yep.
toward school. Okay, and all further better. And since that time, there was something that you mentioned to me that I just want you to mention about your career, and that was about you finished UCLA in what area?
Mechanical engineering.
In mechanical engineering, and then you went on to work for NASA. Am I correct?
No, I did not work for NASA per se. I worked in the aerospace industry,
Mm-hmm.
where we had NASA contracts.
Okay.
So the space shuttle, the Apollo, and the Saturn were products that we produced for NASA.
And the highlight of this was what, do you think?
The Apollo program, when first man landed on the moon,
Okay.
I was heavily involved in that program, from a manufacturing and the production of the space capsule as well as the rocketry.
Okay.
And some of the things that I was able to do was recognized by NASA, and I did receive a citation from NASA for my contributions in helping put the first man on the moon.
Okay, good. And that's what I wanted you to say, you know. So now, in retrospect, or if you had to reflect upon your secondary education, what comments would you make to young people at this time?
I would say take advantage of your opportunities to go to college. And I make reference to that based upon my own children, where they didn't have any of the headaches that I had to go through. But it was hard, particularly the boy, to keep him focused.
Mm-hmm.
Very smart young fella. He's now a professor and teaching mathematics at a school in Texas, but it was hard to keep him on track. With me coming out of the military, I was well grown then. I probably would have wasted my parents' money if I had gone directly from high school. But after I came out of the military, I pretty much knew what I wanted to do, and I was a grown man then. So there was no playing around. It was buckle down and get with it. What caused me to think that way was when I got into military and got around a lot of other young men that were from different parts of the country. I found out that my education was weak as compared to theirs. So I knew I had to do some catching up as well as proceed.
Okay. Now, if, I just said I would like you to say anything else that you would like to say. So what would you like to say to us?
Well, there's something that is kind of interesting. I don't know if you know it or not, but maybe you do. You know Keith Erickson?
Name is familiar.
Keith Erickson is the current Attorney General for the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
He was also a congressman from Minnesota at one time, as well as the vice chair for the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And the reason I mention his name is because Keith's grandfather was one of my teachers.
Ah, okay.
Now, he's not from Natchez because his mother left Natchitoches and wound up in Detroit, I think.
Okay.
And that's where she married, and that's where Keith was born. But he'd settled in Minnesota. He came back to Natchitoches a few years ago and had a nice conversation with him because he wanted to know something about his grandfather. And I was able to tell him something about his grandfather.
Okay. Now, you brought up a good point, and I hope that you can make the connection. You ready?
So,
Okay. What was the mascot of Natchitoches Parish Training School?
Gopher.
The gopher?
Gopher.
Are there any gophers? Are there any gophers in Louisiana?
I don't think so.
Well, I want you to expound on why your mascot is the gopher. How did that happen?
I don't know where it came from, who brought it here, but as I look at the different universities around the country, I know there's a university that has a gopher as its mascot, and I know that the colors for that university is maroon and gold, which is exactly what we had. So someone must have either seen or went to that university and decided that that's what our mascot and colors should be.
Right. And is that University of Minnesota?
It's still in existence. If you look it up now, you find the golden gophers and the colors maroon and gold.
Okay. But I'm
So
saying...
somebody must have picked it up from there.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I thought, you're the only gophers throughout Louisiana. The only
Yep.
gopher. Yep. So, but I'd like to thank you for the interview. I really enjoyed it, and I think that that you explained quite a bit.
Well, I hope it serves some purpose.
Okay.
Good purpose, that is.
Yes, it does. So thank you very much. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Okay.